All right, welcome back to the channel. So let's talk a little bit of Errol Spence admitting what a lot of haters were talking about after the Shawn Porter fight. And he makes an admission and has a plan for improvement. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. This video, we're going to talk about the welterweight division, specifically the WBC and the IBF champion, Errol Spence Jr., who has had a roller coaster of a ride over the last couple years. And he makes an admission though, and I thought the guy was getting up to like 180 pounds. I had no idea that he was ballooning up to 190 pounds in between fights. And as a result, he believes that affected his performance against Shawn Porter and Mikey Garcia. Let's talk about that and what people had been saying about Terrence Crawford for a while, and what effect that these admissions from Errol Spence Jr. will or won't have on his public perception. Before I do that though, I want to welcome everybody back to the channel. If you're a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. If you're not a subscriber, please accept my invitation to hit the subscribe button. Also, thank you to everybody that supports on the Patreon, everybody that is a channel member, and everybody that comes by the live streams Monday through Friday that we do at 11:40 Eastern, 11:40 Central Standard Time, and on Sunday morning for OG Boxing Talk, which is at 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. So let's get into it, man. Errol Spence Jr. was interviewed and asked about, and in this interview, he talked about where he was in his life, talked about what was going on with the quarantine and how his life had changed during the quarantine. And, obviously talking about other fights that would come up with, the Terrence Crawford fight, Manny Pacquiao fight, those type of things. But one thing that he talked about that I thought was very, very interesting was that, he said some things that I had heard from people that were really going out of their way to try to tear at Errol Spence Jr. after every one of his wins. Even some things that, even though not directly what Bomac said, because Bomac, who's the trainer of Terrence Crawford, was a little more over the top than other people, but they talked about, the rumors around Errol Spence Jr. partying too much, gaining a lot of weight in between fights. Most of the stuff with Bomac was more around like the drinking and saying things like, like a drunk ain't shit, but that's not necessarily what what Errol Spence Jr. is talking about. When Bomac said that Errol Spence Jr. wasn't really dedicated to the sport of boxing, that's the part that hit me, and a lot of people followed up on that. But now that Errol Spence Jr. has overcome some obstacles and is in the place that he's in right now, you hear him talk about a lot of that stuff. Now, if you recall, obviously one of the major things that took place was this a car accident that Errol Spence Jr. had not too long after the Shawn Porter fight. There was, a lot of real concern about whether Errol Spence Jr. was actually going to be able to whether he was going to live through that particular circumstance. And then when it wound up that, he was going to live through the circumstance. Then the question is, whether or not he's going to be able to ever going to be able to box again. In that regard, he was very fortunate as well, because the doctors that released the information about the accident said, that he is clear to fight, that there was no broken bones. I think that the only thing that has really, been limited on Errol Spence Jr. is the fact that he can't spar for a while, still can't spar because he has posts in his mouth because he had damage to his teeth. So he got new teeth. I guess, I don't know if you call it veneers or whatever you call it, but he has those new teeth. So he's not able to spar. But other than that, there really hadn't been anything. There really wasn't anything that affected his ability to move forward and fight. However, the one thing that did affect everybody's ability to fight has been this coronavirus, which winds up locking everybody pretty much in their houses. He's in the state of Texas. I'm in the state of Texas. So we know that the state has been on lockdown. It's starting to loosen up a little bit more, but still, like, the gyms and things like that are closed. So pretty much he can't leave his house and really do anything. His mother can't leave her house and really do anything. Her mother and her father, can't move around. So he tells a story of how much pretty much now he's locked into a situation where he has to really figure out what he was doing in his career in order to make sure that it can continue. Now, what he says is that he's doing now is that he is just behaving as if he is a hungry fighter and he's broke. And so in talking about it, what he was doing, he said that he was between fights, he was blowing up, and he said a whole lot of numbers. 160, 170, 170, 180, 190 pounds before fights. He said that, one of his guilty pleasures is that he's gonna eat. So, but he would pretty much end a fight, then he would start eating. And before he knew it, the way that he explained it was before he knew it, he was at a weigh-in, he's at a press conference and he's at a press conference and the fight's going, for a fight. So now he's got to get back down from 190 down to 147. And that whole, process of doing that was his whole training camp, and really didn't have, the ability to do any type of strength training, to do any type of, to really work on anything to improve his skills. And, it wound up, wearing on him and showing the results in the fight with Mikey Garcia, where he went the distance with Mikey Garcia, and the fight with Shawn Porter, where, he went the distance with Shawn Porter, and it was a very, very close fight. So it seems as if all of this stuff going on for Errol Spence Jr. between the accident and the corona and this whole corona thing is a bit of a blessing in disguise for him, because if it wasn't, or for him, he's thinking it's just a straight up blessing. One, he was blessed to get out of the car accident. Two, he's blessed to be put in a situation where he forcefully has to change his habits. But just like any type of thing where, you are forced to make some changes, the big question is, are you going to continue with those changes after you're no longer in that situation, right? So if you are specifically, once he has the freedom to go out and have fun and go see friends, and the clubs, the Dallas clubs open up again and all that, is he going to be going to the clubs? Is he going to be hanging out with his friends? Or is he going to continue to do what it is that he was doing, pretty much saying, solitary confinement? I know it's not actually solitary confinement, and I don't want to liken it to that. That's a much more severe thing. But is he going to continue that lifestyle when it's not where he's not forced to live that lifestyle, when it's one that is completely of choice? And I'll tell you that I certainly hope that, I believe that he'll have the ability to do that. But honestly, I also think that it is pretty much necessary that he does. He is the guy that has the X on his back. He's not the guy that was the hungry fighter that was chasing other people, where, they had the money and they were the big attractions. And he's actually, and he's sitting there coveting what they have. He's the guy that has it. And he's the guy that people are studying film on. Jaron Ennis is out there watching every one of his fights. Virgil Ortiz is watching every one of his fights. Terrence Crawford is watching every one of his fights. And actually, Terrence Crawford and Bomac have been sitting back watching all of this weight gain, all the weight fluctuations, and all of the rumors that are going on. So those guys, if Errol Spence Jr. continues down that path, that stuff ages you quickly. And Terrence Crawford apparently is not living, he's not living in that particular way. Now, he probably, like everybody, has their own little vices and things like that. But there's, but ones that are putting on a tremendous amount of weight on you, I don't necessarily think is the case. And actually, Terrence Crawford is in a phase of his career right now where he's fighting at a weight class where it probably is what is most natural to him, and, keeps him, feeling the strongest, where Errol Spence Jr. might eventually have to go up to 154 and 160. But what Errol said he's doing for this particular, like he's doing now, is his goal is to keep his weight in the 160s. So in between fights. And if he's in the 160 between fights, then dropping another 13 pounds before weigh-in should be a lot easier to do. and he'll be able to spar. He'll be able to, he'll be able to focus on his strategy and, and improve in boxing, because even at the stage of his career that he's in, he can still improve. I think everybody, can endeavor to improve, and up until the point, obviously, that your body starts wearing down and things. But even in that situation, you'll learn some stuff that if you knew when you were in your physical prime, might have helped you. But it's very encouraging to hear Errol Spence Jr. talk like that. I'm definitely wondering what will be said by the naysayers of Errol Spence around this, other than "I told you so." But you really can't get on the dude too bad if he recognizes his problems and he goes about fixing them, goes about solving them. And if he's going to live the Spartan lifestyle, hey, maybe he'll be able to, continue and have that real long type of career, an excellent career that other guys who live like that did, like Bernard Hopkins. But it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section about whether Errol's going to be, whether this is just whether or not he's going to be able to maintain this, or when everything opens up, do you think, because he's still going to be very wealthy and still be very famous, and those temptations are still going to be there, or whether he'll succumb or, partake in those things, after boxing returns. But anyway, it is what it is. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.